What's up, duelists? Welcome back to the channel. Last year was an incredible year for Edison format. If you're new to the channel, you don't know who I am, I post near daily Edison format content with brand new decks. I host the biggest tournament series in all of Retro Yu-Gi-Oh! RBET, and we cover everything in extraneous detail every single day. Like I said, in the last 6 months alone, I've uploaded with 67 brand new decks, never before seen configurations or builds or new combos, just in the last 6 months alone for Edison format Yu-Gi-Oh! Edison format truly had an amazing year in 2024, and it continues to be a deck building paradise. That being said, I wanted to bring to the attention of duelists everywhere 5 brand new lists that did really well last year that we had not seen prior to last year. I made a video like this moving into 2024, and I am excited to bring this back for 2025. Few honorable mentions before we get into things. One of the decks I really wanted to include in this video was my Roghnach hero deck. If you haven't already seen that video, it's one of the decks I'm the most proud of creating. It's very cool. A lot of people are calling it Shed or Roghnach hero equip spell dragon deck. Definitely check it out. It's a work of art, but the other 5 decks are just on a different level, so that's my honorable mention. Let's go ahead and just get right into things. Number 5 is going to be Roghnach's top 8 Gear Town, Light and Darkness, Karaz the Light Monarch, Kaya's the Shadow Monarch frog deck. Roghnach, if you guys don't know him, you haven't heard the name, he's a very prolific Edison format duelist. He is the inventor of Hero Frogs, which is one of the most popular decks right now. He is constantly cooking up new decks. He is one of the best deck builders in the format, hands down, and every time he enters a tournament, I'm excited to see what he has brought. This is what he brought to RBET New York. He traveled across nations to come to RBET New York in order to play with Karaz the Light Monarch, which blows my mind, but it did get him a top 8 finish. The way this deck works is you try to utilize the Frog engine to get you a few tributes here and there, and then you try to close out the game incredibly quickly with a special summoned Ancient Gear Dragon or with Light and Darkness Dragon, negating all of your opponent's effects. So yeah, there's a lot of really interesting synergies. Karaz will actually work by destroying Gear Town. Even though he does draw a card, he won't make Gear Town miss timing because these happen simultaneously. You also have Dark Dust Spirit, which is a loopable monster that can nuke your opponent's entire board. It works incredibly well with triple Battle Fader and Gores as well. Double Autonomous Action Unit. This card says, give me your best card, I'm going to use it against you. And these really interesting field spells that can pose to be very annoying threats for the opponents, Black Garden especially. One of the most rulings-wise confusing cards, but powerful effects in all of Edison format. The sideboard, also genius. He's got triple DD Crow to help him fight the graveyard. He's got double Hand Loop Guy. That's what I've decided his name translates to. This is Hand Loop Guy. He hits your opponent and you hand loop them. Then you've got the Ancient Gear Beast, which you can summon for no tributes while Gear Town is in play, or also while Mausoleum is in play. You've got the Ancient Gear Engineer, similar thing, no tributes while Gear Town or Mausoleum isn't in play, and this guy can help you fight against those dangerous floodgates, whether that's Royal Oppression, Mask of Restrict, or anything of the above, Rivalry of Warlords, etc., etc. You've got a Gladiator Beast Bestiari. This may seem very out of place, but with Autonomous Action Unit, Brain Control, and Enemy Control, you have 5 ways to take control of your opponent's monsters. And so you can take a Gladiator Beast, tag it out into a Bestiari, destroy your opponent's back row. And if you're in the very fortunate position of taking 2 of your opponent's monsters, you can attack with one of them, tag into another one, tag into your Bestiari, pop a back row, and then Contact Fuse into your own Geyseris, completely shutting your opponent out of the game. Double Prime Material Dragon. This is probably just for like burn, mass destruction effects, that sort of thing, Glads. And then a few other simple catch-alls like Book of Moon and Gale. This is a beautifully designed deck list. Every card in here has a function, and every card in here has a purpose. And if you know Roghnach at all, every single card in his paper deck list is also misprinted and max rarity if possible. It is a spectacle to see him duel with this. I have some of his matches from RBET New York on the channel. Go ahead and search RBET New York in the channel search bar or whatever, and I'm sure you'll be able to find his matches. really, really talented duelist, and I do love seeing him come up with new strategies that he takes to the heights of competitive play. This is number 5. It did earn a top 8 slot at one of the most competitive tournaments of the year. Moving on to number 4, we've got Kezza's Theft Amaryllis deck. So this is pretty similar to Amaryllis decks we've seen in the past, but with a few huge key gameplay differences. This deck was first initially designed by No Suck Gaming. Make sure and check him out if you want more guides on the minutia of playing a deck like this. The general strategy is, instead of using Hidden Armory with DDR to sort of micro advantage your way back into games, you are actually leaning more heavily into multiple copies of Mark of the Rose, as well as the powerful Return from the Different Dimension as your reanimation strategy, and triple copies of Cyber Valley to churn through your deck to make sure you're seeing the most powerful cards, like Return from the Different Dimension, or if you're unlucky enough, like I am on almost every occasion, to mill your Return from the Different Dimension, Cyber Valley will actually be able to place it back on top of your deck, so you can create an infinite loop with Cyber Valley and Return from the Different Dimension, and basically infinitely recur all of your monsters every single turn for the rest of the game. So that is truly a powerful end game that allows you to go over the top of just about anything else in the format. The general concept of this deck is you want to bring out Titanial and spam Titanial as much as possible. This card is as close as you can get to like a on-demand Omni-Negate in Edison format. A very large amount of the format targets, whether that's Bryonic or Dark Arm Dragon or Brain Control or D-Prison or you name it. Almost half the format targets. So Titanial negates just about half the format. And with recursive material like Amaryllis or Dandelion tokens, it becomes really, really annoying to deal with. This deck is beautifully designed. It earned Kezza back-to-back RBET top 4s. Kezza entered in RBET Online, made it all the way to top 4, and then entered RBET Rulers, which was obviously the end of the year invitational, where all of the players who top 8'd in RBET get to compete. Kezza made it to top 4 of that as well with this beautiful deck. There were a lot of really cool Amaryllis decks in 2024. There was True Party Kings, Triple Vortex, Triple Lila Amaryllis deck. There was Dad 100's Quick Draw Amaryllis deck, which he won an Ultimate Time Wizard, and he got second place at an RBET with. And there were several other builds here and there in between. I know Pro Storm worked on a list. A lot of the top players have attempted Amaryllis lists, and they've all had pretty good results. That being said, Amaryllis has yet to completely win an RBET, which is kind of wild considering that it's consistently placed in, like, I'd say the top 8, if not the top 4 or the finals in a lot of cases. It's done very well at Ultimate Time Wizards all the way back until Nats. There was No Suck Gaming, who was playing a Destiny Hero Amaryllis list that got top 8 at an Ultimate Time Wizard as well. So there's just a huge variety of different ways you can play this deck. The depth of like what you can pick and choose to put into your deck, it fits your specific build, fits your specific needs, and also fits your specific play style. So this is one of the most player expressive decks, and I expect to see a lot of it in 2025. But this is a new build that came out in 2024. It had a lot of tournament success, and this is the one I wanted to highlight for this video. You'll notice the sideboard has some very unique cards. Karma Cut. This is a card that, as I play more and more Edison format, I'm more and more impressed with. Right now, the most popular decks are Frogs and Blackwings, and Karma Cut is very good against both of those decks. Just incredible. Whether you're just banishing your opponent's Shura, cutting off their Whirlwind Search and their Blizzards late game, or you're banishing your opponent's Treeborn Frog as well as the one that's in the grave, this card has become an exceptional standout, I honestly want to say staple card in Edison format. Towards the end of 2024, there were a bunch of players playing 3 copies of this in their side. There were some players like Carl Waite who played it in his Hero Beat list that he did very well with at a couple different tournaments. There was, I think his name is Vicente. I don't remember his first name. Antonio, maybe Anthony. It might be Anthony. I'm not sure. He played Triple Karma Cut in his Quick Draw list that got top 16 at RBET New York, and we're seeing it in a lot of different lists. I think No Suck Gaming played 3 in his Ultimate Time Wizard Amaryllis deck as well. So just another card I wanted to touch up on moving into 2025 as just a card that I think is very overlooked and incredibly strong. One of the strongest tech cards to, I'd say top 5 tech cards of 2024 that have proven their worth, Karma Cut is up there for me. Definitely. The rest of the sideboard, whatever, standard shit, Skill Drain's a good card, right? If you play a Yu-Gi-Oh! In any era that Skill Drain is legal, it's a good card, right? But Karma Cut, it's pretty unique to Edison format. It's even good against this deck. Banish all copies of Amaryllis seems pretty fucking strong. This is my number 4 pick. Like I said, Amaryllis has yet to win a major tournament. I hope to see that change in 2025. I do think the deck is good enough to win major tournaments. Clearly, as it's been putting itself into near finalist positions over and over again. I believe it had multiple top 4 finishes in the last 5 or 6 majors of the year. So crazy powerful deck. Excited to see where it goes in the future. Moving on to number 3. Now number 3 is going to be a second place deck list from Konbanwa. This is second place Welly Dad zombie build from an Ultimate Time Wizard at YCS Niagara. There were a bunch of players at this event playing the Ultimate Time Wizard event, so it was a major tournament. And Welly Dad has had sort of a big resurgence towards the end of 2024. It's had a lot of people picking it up, a lot of people playing it, in tiny part due to my 12 Days of Teledad series, which we are in the middle of right now. Make sure and check this out if you want to see a bunch of different variations of how to play the cards Emergency Teleport and Dark-Armed Dragon. But yeah, also just because the deck is incredibly versatile, it's incredibly powerful, and it's very hard to prepare for and to prepare against, because the deck attacks every angle of the format, and it does it proactively, whether they're synchro summoning with Krebins or Goblin Zombie, or they're deflecting attacks with Krebins and then pivoting into an offensive Caius play because they're locked under Royal Oppression, or whether they're just going for the big synchro combos, dropping Dark-Armed Dragon. Some other lists towards the end of the year, popularized by Duck Murderer, funny username, he's been using the card Mindmaster as an E-Telly and Powerwell target to be able to synchro with Caius and Malicious to make Ancient Sacred Wyvern. And I've had some insane combos myself personally throughout the 12 Days of Teledad series, and OTKs with Ancient Sacred Wyvern as a result of that tech pickup as well. So just really cool innovation in the space. And to see it not only be innovated in the space, but taken all the way to a finalist placement at a massive tournament from a duelist Konbanwa, who has also topped RBET with Welly Dad as well. This is not his only top placement, but I think this is his most impressive one so far, making it all the way to the finals. And yeah, it's just a crazy good deck. I think if you're a very technical player, I think if you're a very level-headed and intelligent player, I think this deck really speaks to you. This is definitely one of the decks that rewards someone who sees the line. There's a lot of complex, nuanced combo setups and multi-turn mapping to be done with Welly Dad, and if you're good at that, like Konbanwa obviously is, this is definitely a deck for you. If you're good at playing decks, I'd say like Fairies or like Diva Zombies or those style of decks, this will definitely attract you as a player. Definitely check it out. Loads of power cards, loads of fun. Absolute blast. I've been playing it this series, and can't wait to show you guys the last few builds of Teledad that I've cooked up at the end of the 12 Days of Teledad. Few cool things to point out here. He's citing Skill Drain as well. Once again, very powerful card. And he's also citing one copy of Beast King Barbaros. This card is very interesting in this deck. It's kind of dual modal. You may see it as something that obviously works with Skill Drain as a 3000 beater, but it's also a card that doesn't die to Deck Devastation Virus and works incredibly well with Telekinetic Powerwell and Return from the Different Dimension. You're going to find yourself in a lot of situations where you Powerwell back 2 or even 3 Krevins, and then you sacrifice all 3 of them for Beast King Barbaros, and you destroy all cards your opponent controls. That is a really cool tech here from Konbanwa. I don't think it's worth playing, but it is really cool and fun nonetheless. Really sweet stuff. 41 cards I can never condone, but alas, it worked for him. And maybe it'll work for you guys too. All right, moving into the top 2. These are decks that just really blew my mind this year. Not only watching them perform in tournaments, but playing them myself, which I have done a significant amount of each of these decks. This is number 2 is going to be Schwifty's Quick Draw Hero deck list that he took to a 12-1, I believe, finalist or something like that, finish at an RBET. This was hands down the most impressive big tournament run of the entire year. Nobody else this entire year of 2024 had a more impressive run than Schwifty did with Hero Quick Draw in an RBET or anything. He slept through round one and was immediately placed into the loser's bracket. For those of you guys who don't play in RBET, you may not be familiar with the online double elimination structure. When you're in the loser's bracket, you have to win more matches to make it to the finals or to make it to the end of the tournament. And in Schwifty's case, I believe he had to win 12, it might have even been 13 rounds straight. And he did that with this deck. And those matches, a lot of them are on camera during the tournament VOD. You can check them out. One of them was just insane. He went second, opened Titanium, got deck dev turn one, and still beat his opponent. This deck is gas. This deck is just pure, unfiltered, untreated gasoline. This is like the most explosive, powerful quick draw deck we've ever seen. Future Fusion is just busted. It is the number one best card in this format. I am convinced of that. After having played with it in a bunch of different decks, if your deck can support Future Fusion, it absolutely should. It's the best card in the format. And on top of that, you get to play some of the most fun cards in the format, namely Quick Draw Dandelion. I mean, this is kind of like, I think Schwifty really nailed a spiritual successor to Jeff Jones' list. We had seen Quick Draw kind of waning in popularity. It had some amazing results in 2024. There was Nima's undefeated in Swiss rounds build from RBET LA that was playing Machina. There was the undefeated in Swiss Ultimate Time Wizard Las Vegas build. There were several other quick draw builds that did really well. Like I said, the one that had triple Karma Cut. His name is escaping me. I should probably fact check that or something like that. But I'm sure you guys can find it. I've played with the list recently on the channel. And a lot of really, really amazing innovations in quick draw. But I think this one right here hits the nail on the head. Future Fusion with this specific hero package of one Stratos, one Evil Guy, Infernal Guy, and one Elemental Hero, Neos Alias. This is something that Schwifty, I believe, cooked up himself. And there are a few other innovations, like using Necrogardener in this deck. This card is fantastic. It's one of the top cards in this format that I think is just getting thrown into everything at this point. Like you see it in, I believe, Konbanwa's deck as well. Just any deck that can discard this card, it's like a grave trap, quote unquote. You know hand traps, you know regular trap cards, but you don't know grave traps, like you know Necrogardener. And this card is phenomenal. I mean, it's a game-winning card, easily. It stops OTKs, it protects your guy from getting run over. Like, let's say you put a Titanium in play, and then your opponent makes a Colossal, well, defend it with the Necrogardener. And they can't Heavy Storm it, they can't Space Typhoon it, they can't get rid of it, unless they're main decking DD Crow or something like that. And even if they are, it forces it. So, just a fantastic tech option. The 3 Debris, 3 Caius, maxing out on all your payoffs. Absolutely a good choice, especially because these are the more aggressive payoffs. And as Edison format becomes more and more aggressive, Pot of Avarice becomes less and less reliable and more bricky. Whereas stuff like Debris Dragon and Caius the Shadow Monarch, these are your best cards versus Blackwings. They're your best cards versus Frogs. So you just max them both. Sideboard, very straightforward stuff. Just playing all the best cards. All the cards that'll make it so you don't necessarily get absolutely demolished by hate cards like Royal Oppression or Deck Devastation Virus or just Blackwing Boar the Spear in a lot of cases. And the extra decks got some really spicy ones as well, including this Trident Dragon, which I believe Schwifty has said he's never summoned, not even once, but it's there just to flex it. You can actually summon it in this deck with Debris Dragon and Iron Chain Dragon, and you can go for OTKs that way. It's just very difficult to pull that off without specifically Call of the Haunted somewhere in the 55. But yeah, the most impressive tournament run all year was Schwifty's, I believe it was 12-1 record with Hero Quick Draw. That's an insane record. Have you guys ever won 12 matches straight? I mean, I have, but it's like not in a tournament, obviously. That's crazy. Like winning 12 matches straight in any game, in any situation is crazy. And being able to do it with a totally new take on a beloved strategy is really, really cool. So shout outs to Schwifty for this, but it's not the number one pick. It's not the number one pick. And the number one pick absolutely has to be, it's a fan favorite from 2024. It's a first place list from 2024. It's a brand new list from 2024 by deck building mastermind Douglas Tepper, Yados Gladiator Beasts. This list blew my mind when I first saw it. I got back to my Airbnb after the whirlwind that was RBT New York, the 15-hour day that was RBT New York, and I was watching the replays of him playing this deck, and I was just like, this deck is fucking insane. It's fucking incredible. Not only is he the only player to win a tournament in Edison format with Gladiator Beasts, as of right now, win a major tournament, he's also the only player to win a major tournament with Guardian Eatos, I think, ever. I think ever, which is fucking incredible. He took home the coveted, the Cloud Terror mat that everyone sees in all my paper videos and says, where did you get that mat? With this list. And he also took home a playset of Ultimate Caius, as well as, I think there was like one other thing. I don't fully remember. But he absolutely crushed the entire tournament, dominated it with this brand new strategy, and it's beautiful. It almost reminds me of like a modern Eldritch deck. The way this deck works is so dialed. It's so down to the T. You'll notice in this deck that there are 40 cards and there are 0 bricks. Every single card in this deck is instantly actionable. So no matter what hand of 6 cards you have, you can play any of those 6 cards no matter what circumstance. Yes, okay, I get it. You can maybe draw 2 Starlight Roads in your opponent's pocket. I get it, whatever. You get my point, though. You get my point. All of these cards are instantly actionable. All these cards are instantly live. You have a very high activity in your cards in the main deck. In the side deck, I know people after the tournament have said that they've swapped Snowman Eater for DD Warrior Lady, and they said it's a little bit better of a swap because DD Warrior Lady doesn't conflict with Eatos, and DD Warrior Lady is a little bit better into Blackwings. I believe he had Snowman Eaters because he was afraid of specifically Hero Beat, which can be a tricky matchup for Gladiator Beasts. Not as tricky for this build specifically, but a tricky matchup for Gladiator Beasts. He also was one of the first players to successfully utilize Possessed Dark Soul. Now, this is a card that, I think has sort of fallen out of favor since his success because the Fishborg style frog decks have they wax and wane, right? And if you expect to face off against Fishborg style frog decks, this is one of the better sideboard cards. This is all Edison nuance bullshit. You can fucking find more about this shit on my channel. You're here because you want to copy the deck list. Let's talk about the main deck, right? You got all of the Glads that you could possibly need. No more, no less. You got no Tiger, no Rescue Cat, no anything. All of the best back row in the format to support your guys. And then 3 huge beat sticks to make sure you don't just get your shit pushed in by a 1900 monster. And that's it. That's all you need. It's just such a beautifully simple deck list. And every single hand that you'll draw with this deck is going to be good. It's just how the deck is built. It's fucking awesome. Really, really beautiful deck list. Almost perfect scientifically. You've got 14 monsters with the 3 Proving Ground, which is like specifically mathematically very nice. I do believe Douglas tested this a bunch at his locals, which I think is Gamer's Choice in New York, which has a bunch of the best players in the world. So clearly this went through the gauntlet. This was sharpened by the finest steel, you know what I'm saying? And yeah, it came out on top. It won one of the biggest tournaments all year. So Edison format, obviously is a deck builder's paradise. There were a bunch of other decks I could have included on this top 5. Like I said, I uploaded 67 in the last 6 months on the channel. Make sure and check them all out. I'm excited to see what players cook up in 2025. Super, super excited. I think that this format still has a lot of room to grow. I think that there's going to be some really major events where people are going to want to show off their deck building prowess throughout the year. And yeah, that's pretty much it. If you like the video, subscribe. If you want to see gameplay, check out the rest of the channel. You want to see tier lists, check out the rest of the channel. You want to see the biggest fucking retro Yu-Gi-Oh tournaments in the world, check out the channel. And yeah, that'll be it. Thanks for all the support. Thanks for all the love. And I'll see you guys in the next vid. Peace.